A lighter company trying to start a marketing campaign like, how have you used your Zippo lighter? Hashtag Zippo, and it backfires when everyone uses the hashtag to confess to unsolved arson cases, and it turns out all of them are true, and then lighters get cancelled, and everyone gets back into using like a stick and a piece of flint to make fire because it's more eco-friendly, because it's harder to do arson with. I'm sincerely the highest I've ever been, and this took a monumental effort to type. I love the art of short stories. Someday, we will have a cartoon show where the cat is male and the dog is female, but the world is not ready for that yet. Dog has to still do all the funny, gross dog jokes too. No bow on her head, no big eyelashes, she eats from the trash regularly. Be brave, make more gross girls. You, out of nearly 400 people who replied to this, are the only one who gets me! If there really were new users here, you could build the Lady Cop and Bear scam with this. You heard it, if this reaches 10,000 notes, I'm making a Kickstarter. Bitch and pussy. Don't you fucking play with me, I'm at my breaking point here! New Tumblr scam just dropped! Starts out as your standard haunted house horror film, but the protagonist is a millennial who just signed a 1-year condo lease and can't afford to move. They can't afford an exorcist, they call up all the local exorcist services and are horrified by the rates, so they do some Googling and take the DIY approach to home exorcism. After a weekend watching YouTube tutorials, the millennial successfully summons the ghost and explains the situation re the modern housing market. The once vengeful ghost is surprisingly sympathetic. They were killed by a building collapse caused by blatant disregard for safety codes, so the vengefulness is directed at landlords and capitalism. Similarly, the millennial isn't about to evict a spirit from the home it's lived in for decades, no matter what the religious laws say. Accords are reached. From this point on, the narrative becomes a roommate buddy film. Today I learned about a 3,000-year-old Chinese tradition called ghost marriages, or the marriage of two people who died single. In some cases, the parents of unmarried men buy female corpses so their sons could have a wife in afterlife. I really want to read the book of two ghosts who wake up in the afterlife only to find out they've been married to each other by their living families, and now they have to go and haunt their relatives for a ghostly divorce, but they end up becoming best friends in the process. They were two mates. Vampires have been drinking human blood for centuries. They don't give a fuck about guys on 8 different antidepressants. They were sucking on asbestos factory workers. The absolute hilarity of imagining some older vampires hectoring younger ones. Back in my day, I had to drink blood with radium in it, and I liked it. We glowed in the damn dark for weeks. It'd really suck if I got ice or water-themed superpowers. I'd have to wear blue and white and gray instead of the reds and oranges I prefer. Wear the reds and oranges, and pull an Iceland Greenland on them. I have cornered you in this aquarium, where fire powers are useless. Fire powers? Dude, I'm an ice hero. I freeze shit and manipulate water. Also, I love aquariums. Thanks for the free entry. But you're dressed like Guy Fieri. Yeah, haha, I have an autumnal complexion. Also, no superhero should have a name that gives away the power set. Misdirection. Get him, Laser Eye! Haha, my mirror will deflect your— Wait, why are you made of stone now? They call him Laser Eye because he once blinded himself with a laser pointer and it was the funniest shit they'd ever seen. Had a dream last night where marbles were back en vogue and everyone carried their marbles around in cute little pouches that they'd clip onto their backpacks, or purse straps or belt loops, so they'd always have their marbles on them, and your marbles were deeply personal objects that showcased your individual personality, and people would get really passionate and proud of them, and playing for keeps was a deeply serious and honor-bound affair. And I played a game with an old man while waiting for a bus, and he told me how he met his wife while playing in a 4 keeps tournament, and in a miracle shot, he knocked out her most precious marble, a brilliant sparkling green one with an inside like a geode, and when he looked up he found she was crying at its loss, and so right there on the spot he proposed to her, so that she could divorce him and take it back in the divorce. But in the end, he told me, she kept me and the marble, and I awoke teary and resentful to be ripped from a fleeting world that had found for itself such a small and beautiful piece. I feel like Tumblr would expose superheroes' secret identities real fast with all its crazy-ass jokes. Today I learned the majority of Spider-Man photos appearing in the Daily Bugle comes from a freelance photographer named Peter Parker. He has been selling photos for almost 3 years with little competition. That explains why they use photos with such terrible composition. As a photographer, I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to get a picture of Spider-Man. Guys, he's roommates with Spider-Man. Oh my god, they were roommates. I raise, Parker is Spider-Man. These are selfies. Spider-Man sells his selfies to the newspaper. Bitch makes bank. God, I wish that were me. Crap. I wonder if a fairy's ability to steal names can be counteracted with a who's on first joke.
May I have your name, mortal?
What?
I said, may I have your name?
What?
What is your name?
Yes.
Your name is Yes?
No, what's my name?
That's what I want to know!
I don't know, but I love the headcanon of it. Just give him your gamer tag. Cool idea, but I don't know. I feel like that could still have some weight to it.
Okay, can I have your friend's name?
Yes.
Okay, what's his name?
Who?
Your best friend.
Yes.
Is your best friend's name Yes too?
No.
Then what is it?
Who?
Your best friend.
Yes.
What's your best friend's name?
No.
Who?
That's it.
Who's your best friend?
Yes.
Ah! Well, what's your brother's name?
Why?
I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I just thought I'd tell ya. Third base! Just had a terrific idea for a funny character name. He's an Italian mob boss. Think Don Corleone from The Godfather, but more cheesy. They call him Big Al, and the front of his operation is a spaghetti restaurant. His full name, or his alias, whichever is funnier, is Al Dente. As an Italian, I can confirm that. It's a fantastic name. Writing fanfiction is just, I'm being so creative and original. I'm plagiarizing everyone by accident. I'm a genius. I'm cringe. I'm too angsty. I'm too cheesy. This is not in character. It doesn't matter that it's not in character because these are my characters now. I love my hobby. This is the worst possible use of my time. I'm seeking validation. I'm projecting my own personal problems onto this story and I'm barely hiding it. I know so many words and I'm using all of them wrong. I'm on Tumblr posting about it instead of writing it. Oh my goodness. Yep, that is a lot to unpack there. Healthy relationships are clearly better in real life, but fucked up ones are way more dramatically interesting in fiction. In much the same way, indeed in exactly the same way, that feudal monarchy is a hell of a lot of fun in fantasy and historical fiction novels, but complete shit to actually live under. Feudal monarchy is so hilarious because it's just like, what if we based our entire sociopolitical structure on fucked up family dynamics? Imaginary evil is romantic and varied. Real evil is gloomy, monotonous, barren, boring. Imaginary good is boring. Real good is always new, marvelous, intoxicating. Simone Weil. Actually, supervillains with kid hero nemesis are hysterical, because if I was a billionaire and I found out the kid who was also my nemesis was a preteen orphan, I would simply adopt them. Oh, you're going to stop my nefarious schemes? How when you're grounded? Go to your room. The trick is to be a good parent so they don't want to fight you. Son, if you topple my criminal empire, how will I pay for your college? Reverse Batmaning. Weaponized guilt. Son, you're out on a school night? When you have that big science test tomorrow? I thought you'd be studying. Getting some rest. No, I'm not mad, I'm just, well, a little disappointed, I guess. What do you mean this wouldn't be happening if I'd stopped robbing banks? Their insurance covers it, son. Money isn't real. Who's this guy? Is he your sidekick? That's so cute. When are you having him over for dinner? I'm not teasing, I think it's sweet. I'm glad you're making friends. Side note, how durable is he? I'm about to throw a car at you. Little known downsides of immortality. Tearing your favorite article of clothing and discovering that it's irreplaceable because the technique of its manufacture has been lost. Realizing you've thought of the perfect comeback to someone who's been dead for 300 years. Not being able to eat your favorite dish anymore because the source of some critical ingredient has gone extinct. Having strong opinions about sports that are no longer played. Getting a song from the 13th century stuck in your head and being unable to get it out because you don't remember how it ends and you're the only person on earth who knows it. Having that perfect pun you've been waiting forever for a chance to use stop working due to linguistic drift. This is good omens now. Sorry, I don't make the rules. My theory is that reincarnation is real, and that's why everything is so fucked up. We got too many people on Earth, and their souls were supposed to spend a few more cycles as endangered animals or something, but we fucked the environment and overpopulated. So we get guys who were supposed to be black-footed ferrets or whatever, till their soul reached maturity, but instead they're like influencers and politicians. This is also why furries exist. Yeah, I'll go ahead and integrate that into my belief system. A room called the doll room that's full of dolls is mundane, but a room called the doll room that only has one doll in it? That's fresh. If a person shows you their doll room and it's full of dolls, they probably just like dolls, you know? It's normal. It's a hobby. But if they show you their doll room and it only has one doll, something's going on with that one doll. Room called the doll room and there's a mirror and nothing else. The door closes. Ooh. Me. Oh wow, this shop has everything my heart desires. Spooky shopkeeper. Yes, I will warn you, every item comes with a price. Me. Yes, I know how shops work. Spooky shopkeeper. The price may be more than you expect to pay. Me. Yes, I know how US taxes work too. Shopkeeper, increasingly exasperated. I'm trying to tell you that I'm evil and offering these wares with no regard for the harm they will do. Me, also increasingly exasperated. I know what capitalism is too, goddammit. This is one of my favorite posts. This feels like a Gravity Falls ep. That's because it is, broski. I must warn you, these statues come at a terrible price. $20? I'll just take them when you're not looking. Robot girl who works at an office and she calls her computer and the office printer her co-workers. She gives the printer new ink and oils herself while they shoot the shit like around a water cooler. Is there office drama? The printer and her talk shit about the fax machine, of course. Whatever her problem with the fax machine is, you wouldn't understand it. It's a robot thing. She asks the printer if it wants to go out for drinks with her and her computer, and it just makes one of those god-awful grinding noises at her. Those god-awful grinding noises are the printer running all of its internal calibration routines, image registration, toner density, transfer voltage, before printing internal test color bouquet.tiff. You're the only motherfucker who can handle me. More stuff about becoming a god being inherently dehumanizing, please. Too much focus on ascension or becoming greater. Not enough focus on what is lost of you. You're not a person anymore, just a personification. You're a concept, an abstraction, all neatly defined boundaries and borders. None of the vagaries or blurring of lines or gray areas that come from being mortal. You can never change now, never grow or evolve. You are this, forever, stagnant, and the thing you've been made to embody might not even be your best trait. You also get no say in how your story is told, or how people praise you, if indeed they do at all now. Me. If I become the evil overlord, I will never harm my minions. 5 years later, highly throwable imp. Hoo hoo hee! Me. The imp wants to be thrown. Throw the imp! Consider. It's enrichment for them. You ever thrown a little kid repeatedly into a couch or a bed or trampoline and become cooler than God to them? No, it's fine. They like being thrown. It's perfectly reasonable to toss around some of your minions, but after a certain percentage of your own minions destroyed, it's just fiscally irresponsible. Just checking in with the Chuckable Imp Union. How's negotiations going? It's really up in the air right now. The subject just keeps getting tossed back and forth. If you went to a bar and the bartender was a mouse girl, you could ask for a drink and she would bounce it on her head and say, "For you, it's on the mouse." Oh, so cute. "For you, it's on the mouse." "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave." She makes a mean whisker sour. Does she have anything non-alcoholic? Well, sweetie, how's an ice-cold ratsparilla sound? We also specialize in egg creams. I know it ain't a rodent pun, but there's only so far you can milk that. Where are her fat mouse tits, coward? You're right, how could I forget? Sweetie, I know you're new and all, but you gotta tie your hair back when you're on the clock. Oh, sorry, ma'am. By the way, what if the mouse girl bartender had a bunny girl coworker, and when it's closing time she says, "All right, everybody out." All right, closing time, everybody out. God damn it, I said it again. Hey, don't worry about it, love. They're laughing with ya. Just putting all these pics together in one post. None of these are mice. They all have rat tails. Rat tail? What are you? Oh. Tail net. Standard food safety. If this hits 100K, I'm gonna show whole. Show whole? My word, you kids are so forward these days. Then again, I suppose we've known each other long enough. I could show you whole if you'd like. Ready, darling? Hehe, wink. And because this series wasn't cheesy enough, otter up! I gotta write a trope break where the dad's favorite daughter gets a BF, and instead of being suspicious, the dad is like, "Yes, finally, I have a son to go fishing with." Dad, I go fishing with you every week. I know, and I'll always enjoy fishing with you more, but I want to make him feel welcome. Come on, son, let us fish. Instead of cringing, the daughter's like, "I'm sorry if you feel weirded out by my dad, but I love him the way he is, and you just gotta man up and deal with my awesome cringy dad. Boyfriend who doesn't have a good dad. I know this, and I love him. BF. Are you going to tell me to not break your daughter's heart or you'll break my legs or something?" Dad. No, I know you wouldn't do it on purpose, and it's stupid to get mad at someone for an accident. Also, I trust my daughter's taste in men and understand that heartbreak is a natural part of relationships. You will both hurt each other, but what's important is being mature, forgiving, and loving through it. Now, do you want a hamburger or a hot dog? BF, crying a little. Both, please, Mr. Dad. Instead of groaning at the dad jokes, everyone is delighted, and the dad stands as the pinnacle of humor, as dad jokes deserve to. Is old vampires in high school the big thing, and not old vampires in college? Everyone in college is eccentric. Everyone! You want to wear full-on Victorian suit? The girl in pajamas who clearly hasn't slept in 3 days supports you. Everyone is too preoccupied to care as long as you're polite and follow class etiquette. Multiple high school diplomas? Same stuff. Multiple BAs? Enjoy learning chemistry and art history. All in detail. Wandering around campus at 3 a.m.? That's just the lifestyle, TM. No matter how old or young you look, it's not really that weird. There's 16-year-olds and 60-year-olds doing BAs somewhere. Big schools are very anonymous, so nobody's gonna bother to hassle you. The girl in pajamas is the vampire. Also, if you put your blood in a water bottle, people will assume it's juice and be jealous. Oh god, I'm a monster. 20 students who are all procrastinating big projects say same simultaneously and with the same exact tone. Everything is a joke, so if you say, "I subsist on the lifeblood of mankind," someone will go, "Lol, what a mood." It would take you like 100 years to major in everything. Seen sucking the blood of a fellow classmate and you are instantly the campus cryptid and mascot. Listen, if you have an ethical dilemma, go find a philosophy major that believes in ethical subjectivism, and they'll make you so angry you forget about whatever the fuck was bothering you. College is the only acceptable place to get into fistfights over classical literature. Literally, all you need to do to avoid suspicion is be the guy that always has gum and a stapler. If you have a majestic mustache, people will just assume you're an English major. Allergic to crosses? Cool. So are certain STEM majors. There literally was a guy who bit someone's neck at my university in my last year. Everyone was just like, "Campus cryptid." Also, everybody is either always eating or never eating, so not eating isn't that weird. Level 1. Prophecy proclaims that no man can kill villain. Killed by woman. Level 2. Prophecy proclaims that no weapon can harm villain. Pushed downstairs and dies. Level 3. Prophecy proclaims that villain will be brought low by no mortal hand. Kicked to death by angry mob. Level 4. Prophecy proclaims that no power on earth shall be villain's undoing. Fatally distracted by sun in eyes. Level 5. Prophecy proclaims that only power of laughter can defeat villain. Beat up by clown. Level 2 stars. Prophecy claims that villain cannot be killed by man nor beast at day or night, or inside or outside. He is killed in a doorway at sunset by a half-man, half-lion. This is actual Hindu myth. Level triple question mark? Prophecy claims that hero cannot be killed during the day or night, nor indoors or outdoors, neither riding nor walking, not clothed and not naked, nor by any weapon lawfully made. He is killed at dusk, wrapped in a net with 1 foot on a cauldron and 1 on a goat, and with a spear forged for a year during the hours when everyone is at mass. Actual Welsh myth. What I'm getting from this is that rules lawyering is an ancient and honorable tradition. Liminal spaces, y'all. Aye, rules lawyering is exactly as old as rules. At We Are Lawyer, one of these guys just failed to read the terms and conditions. Fantasy stories should have more "what do you mean you don't do X" things in compare and contrast of cultures. Like, the differences between peoples aren't the stuff they show off as "these are our culture" things. Fucking everyone has food and music and folktales, but the things they've always assumed that everyone has, and are baffled to discover that they don't. The people who are always barefoot are baffled that humans don't have a wash basin at their front door, where people can wash their feet before stepping inside. Do they just walk in with their dirty feet? The fuck do you mean you take your shoes off? Humans don't have small, baby-sized spellbooks for toddlers who just learn to read, so they can safely learn to practice tiny, cute, and harmless, age-appropriate magic spells before progressing to more mature and demanding spells? What, do they just throw teenagers completely unprepared into the arcane? Hold the fuck up. Is that why human sorcerer mortality is so fucking high? Dwarves, who have always wondered why the entrance to human residences is so fucking big. Why do you need to take up such a large area for a door that's just there to lead downstairs to the underground halls? Are the timber walls really as thick as a human is tall? What for? And once one of them gets invited to a human house to stay and rest, nobody ever fucking believes her. That's not the entrance, that's the whole fucking house. 100% of the human house is above ground. There is no tunnel to the underground levels. They might have a single storage room down there, but the above ground section is so fucking big because that's the whole house. This post was brought to you by people who butter their bread and who had no idea that there are people who put mayonnaise on their bread, and people who put mayo on their bread and had no idea about people who put butter on their bread, discovering that the other kind of people exist. Vampires nowadays have it so easy. Why is it such a struggle for them to hide their identity in stories? Your eyes are weird. Yeah, I'm blind as shit. If I gotta wear contacts, might as well pick the red ones for the demon aesthetic. I never see you eat. I'm on a liquid diet. My stomach can't tolerate solid food. Nasty disease I have. Spent my childhood at hospitals. Oh, sorry I mentioned it. No problem, I can still drink though, so let's get the party going! You dress like an aristocrat from 1789. It's called an aesthetic, Susan. Alternatively, you look so edgy. Quit trying to be a vampire, you try hard. But I am one. Ugh, shut the fuck up. Yeah, sorry about biting you the other day. Got a bit carried away. Oh, I thought it was hot. Huh? Don't kink shame me. Oh. So, we repeating that? Absolutely. Why do you never go outside in the sun? I'm a vampire. Haha, nice one. For real though, just come with us to the beach. And ruin my body with sun, heat, sand, and salty water? No thanks. Understandable. Have a nice day. How do you get all this work done? I pull all nights. Do you ever, sleep? Sleep is for the weak. Huh. I also do cocaine and drink way too many Red Bulls. Follow me on Twitter for more vampire nonsense. Dude, you've been in our D&D group for literally 3 years. You don't need to keep asking if you're invited every time. I know, I just get anxious, okay? Oh, fair. I feel personally attacked. Lol. The came back wrong trope, except, they didn't. This mad scientist's wife died, and so he studied necromancy, brought her back, and she came back and it all worked. She came back exactly the same as she was before, with literally no difference. But the scientist guy is oh no, what have I done? She's different now! She came back wrong! And she's just chilling, reading a book, cooking dinner. She's just so normal. But in the guy's mind, he's oh, she's so weird. But she's just normal. peer-reviewed tags from so many of the kids. She came back just regular, but his journey to resurrecting her changed him to such a degree that even his closest intimacies are now foreign to him. Sorry, dude. No, it's a joke, and you don't get it. It's not that deep. While she was dead, he put his memory of her on such a high pedestal that she could never live up to it alive. Alternatively, she came back perfectly fine, but he thinks she came back wrong, because the tragic reality is that he never actually knew his wife. I'm going insane. That's my post. It's your post, but the journey to posting it changed it to such a degree that even its closest intimacies are now foreign to you. Sorry, dude. Be me. About 13 years old. Basically, naivete incarnate still. Just discovered the world of fanfiction.net. Have an account and a few stories posted so far. Currently working on a fanfic of Spirited Away. Get a comment one day. Commenter asks if I can put lemons in my story. I think it's an odd request, but will do anything to please a fan. Write the next chapter acknowledging the lemon request and say that the chapter will contain lemons. About halfway through the chapter, I wrote a giant duck running past the protagonist with an armful of lemons. Duck says, "My lemons!" then runs off. Feel pleased with myself at having granted my fan's request. Years later, I find out there's another meaning for lemon in the fanfic world. Lemons are sex scenes. My commenter was asking me to put a sex scene in my story. At 13 years old, I unintentionally trolled the shit out of some random person. Whoops. This is the most beautiful thing I have ever read. It's such an awesome thing to see legendary posts in the wild. New superhero. Crime Man. He stops crimes exclusively by committing crimes. He out-crimes the criminals. The Punisher does this, and the crime is murder. The Punisher doesn't stop crime, he punishes criminals. Big difference. Crime Man is more proactive than that. So what you really mean is like a totalitarian government that profiles people and arrests them before they commit crimes, which is a crime? No, it's more like stopping a credit fraud from happening by committing arson. A mugger threatening me with a knife. Give me your money. Crime Man appearing from the darkness with a bigger knife. No, criminal. You give me your money. I love the efforts to get deeply analytical and political, but OP just shuts them down with no. Crime Man does crime, but better. He finds out someone's planning to rob the bank, so he robs it first so there isn't any money left when they get there. Armed robbery? Hold their family hostage until they deliver their guns in an unmarked bag behind a gas station. Lamau, what would Crime Man's costume look like? Shirt and pants with horizontal black and white stripes. A black domino mask. A dark gray wool hat. A big sack with a $sign on it where he stores his gadgets. A yellow sash reading, "Crime scene, do not cross." I drew fan art. Did I get it right? Now that's a hero if I've ever seen one. Check out this amazing Crime Man comic by Mikaxi. You do the crime, you get the crime. I don't know why, but I have a strong desire to have Crime Man on my blog. The plan is working. He looks like the quote, "Be gay, do crimes." He is gay and does crimes. Police. Man's pickup truck stolen while he was robbing store. Crime Man strikes again. I like Crime Man, and Crime Man likes you too. What are his powers? Resourcefulness, audacity, and a sense of humor. By the way, Crime Man lives in Florida. OP, I respect you, but absolutely no part of this post required clarification that Crime Man lives in Florida. That was already understood. This is one of those posts that you stop what you're doing and read it to your partners. Read the story on AO3 to them as well while you're at it. He's the hero we didn't need and didn't know we wanted. Be me. Sleep-deprived DM. Half an hour ago. Get startled by phone ringing. It's one of my players. Dude, it's midnight. You good? Yeah. Sorry if I woke you. Could I ask for a favor? Oh god, he killed someone. .gif. Sure? Shoot. My daughter can't sleep. Could you tell a quick story over speakerphone? She loves listening to the recordings of our sessions before bed, but I left my laptop at the office so I can't play them. Nani the fuck? .mp3? She listens to us to fall asleep? Yeah, but she really likes your plot and NPC acting bits. She calls you Dumb Mister. Guess Dungeon Master is a bit hard for a preschooler. Wow. Well, if it will help her sleep, then sure. Thank you. Okay, give me a sec to head back to her room. Okay, you're on speaker. Hey, daughter's name. It's Uncle Anon.
Dum Mister!
I've never been happier to be called a dum-dum.jpg. You ready for a story about DM improv skills engage. The time your daddy and his friends went deep into a cursed temple to save a frost dragon egg? Incomprehensible happy squealing noises! I then proceed to spend nearly 20 minutes spitballing a story over the phone for the most fascinated little girl until she eventually fell asleep. Friend thanks me for the help and says he'll see me on game night. Lay down in bed, actually feel content and comfortable for once. I should have thanked him. I am the dumb mister. Aww. Robot characters who are given names like SL30862, but instead of their human friend going, well, let's call you Sally for short, they instead ask the other if they like their current name. Do you like your serial number? They ask. Yes, quite. It reminds me of who I am, the robot replies. I have heard others like me go by different names after some time, and maybe one day I'll choose one for myself too. But right now, that is my full name. Yes, they continue. Because it's not your decision to make whether or not the robot will receive a new name. It should be theirs only. What's the difference? One is more complex, and the other is simplified. They were both given by strangers instead of themselves. 62 will do, they conclude. It's my model number. There will be no other 62 after me. Robots who instead start assigning numbers to their human friends. Not that I mind, I tell SL30862 one afternoon as we enjoy our shared lunch break. I have my packed lunch and 62 has connected themselves to their portable power bank. But why do you call me 4? The LEDs along 62's appendages twinkle, a tell that they're mulling over an answer. It's a nickname, they explain. You are my 4th acquaintance aboard the station, and I've assigned you a serial number. Your full designation is F00104. What does the F stand for? I ask, curious and charmed. Friend, SL30862 says, their tone fond. It stands for friend. Shut up, I'm not crying over a hypothetical imaginary robot who's making friends and giving them nicknames. Places an orange just outside a fairy ring to see what comes out. Science is more of an art than a science. The orange grows legs and skitters away. Fascinating results. Places a banana in the same spot. Clawed hand reaches out of the ether and drags it into the ring, leaving ragged claw marks in the soil as it disappears, back into the ether from whence it came. Let's go to the extreme. Places a pineapple in the same spot. Real scientists would keep putting an orange in the same spot to make sure the results are consistent before moving on to other fruits or different spots. They've obviously standardized the spot and are varying the fruit. The experiment is valid. The only valid response to this post. We're working up the complexity levels of fruit until we feel there is enough evidence to support the judicious placement of a volunteer twink. I'm the volunteer twink. You sit down. We haven't seen what's happened to the pineapple. This is Tumblr. We've all seen what happened to the pineapple. They offered you $80 to clean the cemetery alone from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. Y'all taking the job? It's supposedly haunted. $80 an hour? You got me fucked up if you thinking I'ma refuse that. Shit, I'm making sure each one of those tombs are spotless with the finest holy water. Annabelle trying to visit her friend? Aisle 6, row 3, bro. I might get haunted, but I'm leaving every shift in a Bentley with Casper and his homies in the back. All I'm seeing is a well-paying job with good customers. Also, many religions worldwide would consider this a solemn and respected post of work. Every form of paganism I have personally run across would say you're doing an important duty. In Judaism, we'd say you're fulfilling a mitzvah by respecting the dead and honoring their memories. If you go in with good intentions, any spirits still hanging around will not hurt you. Just show them respect. Also, seriously, that's nearly $17,000 a month. I've had jobs where I didn't earn that in a year. Even if those go saying friendly, I am full on taking that job. $200,000 a year. $200,000 a fucking year. No retail, no food service, no manager hovering and riding my ass, no annoying coworkers. I'll deal with the ghosts. I'd take ghosts over people any day. Fresh air, no sitting in an office, no customer service, just me and a bunch of gravestones and maybe Maria from 3 graves down having a hissy. For that money, what's not to like? Plus, what ghost is gonna decide, Yes, today I will take horrible vengeance on the person who quietly and respectfully keeps the plants tended and the headstones clean. Whoever they're gonna fuck with, it's not gonna be me. For real though, since when have you ever heard of the graveyard keeper being the one haunted? It's always the dumbass who doesn't listen to their advice that gets got. Could a vampire policeman enter my house if they had a warrant? This question has destroyed many of my friend groups. No, magic doesn't care about the law. However, if you lose the right to your property for any reason, then the vampire could enter. Prev tags. Okay, so no warrant, but what if they eminent domain your house? Now it's not your house, so they can come in. Yes, I believe that would work. Vampire magic works because your primary place of residence is a homestead, which is something the law can affect, unfortunately. But a warrant by itself doesn't affect the key part of the clause. It gives human, legal permission, but doesn't bypass the homestead rule. But doesn't a warrant count as an invitation? There's plenty of vampire stories where they accidentally invite one vampire in, and then once inside, that vampire can invite all their buddies in. So I don't think you have to be the owner of the homestead for the invitation to be magically valid. If for some reason you have previously invited the judge who issued the warrant into your house, then it would work. Otherwise, he's just some guy as far as vampire rules are concerned. This is all very real and important to me. Be careful of vampire policemen then. The worst thing I ever did at a D&D table was when our DM ran out of place name ideas and told us the name of the port town we needed to go to was Bar Harbor. So I tricked him into role-playing the slightly too helpful town guard into giving us directions to, well, you see, the party had been out in the wilderness for like a month. We're all a mess. The dwarf's beard is out of control. So can you tell us, where can we find the Bar Harbor Barber? But we were not done. We each took turns, like a pack of velociraptors. We also had Dryad in the party, and a few of her branches got broken in a fight, and now her whole canopy is unbalanced, and it looks awful, but she really needs to see a specialist. Is there a Bar Harbor Arbor Barber? The paladin also wanted to look in on a small church he'd heard of, that the city had a patron saint who was boiled alive in a cauldron of ale. So where is the temple of the Bar Harbor Larger Martyr? It was around this point that Chris started to tire of this nonsense. The bard, naturally, wanted to go carousing, and he'd heard this town had some of the most attentive and welcoming ladies of the night on the continent, known by their brightly colored stocking bands. So had he seen any of the Bar Harbor Ardor Parlor Farbergarders? Chris immediately escalated to threats of a total party kill. Unfortunately, I'd had time to prepare, and what do you want? I just wanted to know if you'd seen my cousin. Your cousin. Yeah, I know it's a long shot, but he's got a pretty distinctive appearance, and you might have seen him around town. Oh no. Okay, so he's Welsh, and the whole family used to be in the wagon-making business, but he got into clothes manufacture until there was an accident with a lamp black dye, and now he's permanently stained a sooty color, and that really turns heads, so now he's got a job drawing in crowds for the city-funded swap meet? No, not the drow, that also works there. I mean, like the inside of a fireplace. Anyway, he got tired of people mixing the two of them up, so he started wearing this fancy armor with a magical +1 charisma bonus. Gallus, I swear to God, I will summon the Tarax. So have you seen my cousin, Arthur Carter, former Sarter, but now he's the darker Harker for the charter barter of Bar Harbor, the one with the charmer armor? Amazingly, we survived the Tarask. You do realize Bar Harbor is a real place, right? It's in Maine. Important clarification. Chris the DM is from Bar Harbor, Maine. We did this to his hometown. Pun intended consequences. It's perhaps important to note that while the party survived the Tarask, Bar Harbor very much did not. Which path should he choose? The path of the warrior, the path of the scholar, or the path of the artist? He should wander away and have a picnic while he thinks about what path to choose. Great idea! But where should he have the picnic? Under the tree, or under the old fort? By the sea, so he can enjoy the sound of the waves. A lovely choice! Should he build a sandcastle to pass the time? Or perhaps go fishing? Perhaps he could collect shells he finds interesting. Sounds fun! Which shell should he pick up? This one. That's not a shell, it's a tiny earpiece. Should he listen to music or to the mysterious pre-recorded message? He should give it back to the crab in the largest shell. They thought they had lost their wave pod and are grateful he found it. The crab wants to give a gift in return. Should he accept the gift of power or the gift of knowledge? The gift of friendship. Friendship acquired. Should they celebrate with pizza or ice cream? The crab friend cannot eat either of those. Let's split a nice seaweed salad instead. So many options. Should they get tossed salad, wiggly salad, or spiky salad? Caesar salad. Nothing beats getting it straight from the source. Should they use scissors or claws to cut the seaweed? What about that sword in the first panel? The circle is complete. Through choices, friendship, and salad, he found his way to the path of the warrior. But he won't walk it alone. Their path is just beginning, but this story is over. Thank you to everyone who participated. This is somehow both the epitome and the antithesis of yes and it fascinates me. No and. What an incredible exercise! The enthusiasm of the narrator is infectious, and the drawings are clear, concise, and whimsically engaging. But I especially love how this can help people practice thinking outside the box. Too often when we're presented with a multiple choice question, we choose one of the given answers, conditioning at its finest. But in reality, life choices, be they small or large, are never limited to only the choices presented to you. There are always other options. Sometimes they're not palatable for other reasons, or they're slightly less realistic than other choices, but they're still options. And I think that remembering that we always have options is such an important skill set. It can feel pigeonholing to only respond to the choices given to you. I think as long as you're not hurting anyone else, express your understanding of the world however you want, and think outside the box to do so. The possibilities are infinite. You can walk or run to the train. Why can't I skip? Or practice my dance moves? Do you want pasta or pizza? How about chicken skewers? As long as they're available, you can make a choice. I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head right now, but the point is that I think your choices should reflect who you are, not your best option from whatever you perceive. Which brings me to a real serious example I've been ruminating on a bit: dating. I've seen people dating, and dated people myself, that seem fine. Like, they don't appear to be psychopaths, they seem to have a relatively balanced grip on their existence, but that's it. The only crime they're committing is the cardinal character writing sin of being boring. Villains are often liked more in fiction than normal characters because they're not boring. They're horrible, which you wouldn't want in real life, but fiction and real life are different. I'm digressing. The point I'm trying to make is that just because someone seems fine doesn't mean you have to choose to be with them. There are 7 billion people on the planet, or are we up to 8 now? There is bound to be someone you don't find boring. I know I don't find myself boring, so why should I be with someone I do? Which for me is the real outside-the-box choice. I laminated a paper towel. Why does this have 31,000 notes? You made it useless, but also prevented it from the end it was predestined for. But wait, this is actually freaking me out though. It raises so many questions about the otherwise incomprehensible meaning of life as a collective whole versus personal sustenance and longevity. Imagine if one day you were given a choice: become immortal and indestructible for eternity, unable to be harmed by anything ever again, and get to live forever. However, in order to achieve that, you must give up whatever your purpose in life is. Whatever it is that you were always meant to do, what you are supposed to contribute to the overall scheme and future of the life of the universe, your purpose, the whole reason you were even created, even born in the first place. You must give that up. You don't know what that is. You'll never know. But regardless, you say yes. Perhaps you assume you wouldn't have made any sort of significant difference anyway. That butterfly effect theory or whatever they call it. Nah, you call bullshit. It doesn't matter. You don't matter. At least not to anything outside of your immediate connections. And it'll all be fine, and you'll just live forever with minimal, or maybe even no, consequences. So yay, you're now immortal. You'll never die or get hurt ever again. Whee! But then, centuries and centuries later, Not to mention that by this point you've gone through horrible heartbreak and misery and despair because every loved one you ever had, every friend you ever made, every person you barely got to know has passed away, died as you lived on long without them, helpless to do anything for them as you watched them perish, unable to ever go with them or ever see them again. But I digress. Now, you learn you actually were important in the grand scheme of things. You were supposed to be a key factor in the world's survival long ago. But because of the choice you made, immortality over individual purpose, you were never given the knowledge or awareness or resources or ability to save the world that you were always supposed to obtain before you unknowingly made the wrongest choice to ever wrong. Needless to say, you fucked up big time. The entire universe as we know it is destroyed soon after this horrifying revelation. It implodes, collapses in on itself, essentially forming a massive black hole or something. Stars, nebulae, galaxies, solar systems and planets, worlds and worlds of living people and things, and light years of time and space and life, all sucked up into absolute indefinite nothingness. But you remain, just you, floating amongst, spiraling around, rocketing through, suspended in nothing, with a feeling of such unbelievable loneliness that your feeble brain can hardly perceive, can't possibly hope to comprehend. Not only are you the only living thing left, you don't even have one inanimate object to keep you company. You have literally nothing, and you are literally nowhere. I mean, technically, you are now the universe, if it would bring you petty comfort to think about it that way. You, only you, with nothing, no one, nowhere, forever, and ever, and ever. All because you thought you didn't matter, that you had no real meaningful purpose, that you could never possibly make a difference. But you did. And now look what you've gotten yourself into, you silly nugget. You're gonna be pretty bored and lonely for that eternity, huh? Or maybe it was out of selfishness. Maybe this wasn't because you felt useless, but because you simply only cared about prolonging your own life and nothing else. The moral here? Be selfless, and always know and remember that you matter. Or else, one day, you might destroy the universe, and be left to suffer, and be tortured horribly and endlessly by the void of nothingness that has consumed you, with no way to escape, ever. Other moral, because I got sidetracked from my initial point, all things considered, would you choose longevity over purpose? Immortality over meaning? Or I don't know, maybe some idiot just laminated a stupid piece of paper towel for no good reason. And maybe I shouldn't be looking for the answers to the meaning of our short, fragile lives in a laminated paper towel. I don't know, man. I don't know. Write a book. What if I did write a book, and the pages of that book were made out of laminated paper towels? I wasn't gonna reblog until that last comment. This fucked me up. I love Tumblr. WillYouPressTheButton.com. You can shapeshift into any form you choose, but people will always know it's you. What is the fucking point? You could be a fucking badass dragon, that's the point. I am a creature of darkness. Oh hey, Sabrina. I guess the point is that you could shapeshift into the body you always thought you'd grow into when you were a kid. Taller, shorter, slimmer, more muscular, purple hair, tattoos everywhere, tattoos nowhere. Every single shoe would fit you every single time you tried it on. Every single article of clothing would fit you perfectly. All you have to do is transform slightly. You'd never run out of your size again. And you wouldn't have to work for it at all. And you'd never be limited by your bone structure or something. You could just transform at will. Ah, yeah! I don't see how this is much of a downside. When you turn into a 60-story tentacle demon and terrorize a city, you want to get the credit you deserve. Oh man, that would be so sweet. I would be an annoying fuck as an insect or something, but you couldn't kill me because everyone would know. That's great, but have you considered cosplay, Halloween costumes, acting, cosplay, stretching to reach stuff and shrinking to fit through spaces, cosplay, cosplay. Imagine being at work, minding your business, and then suddenly you look out the window and see like a 50-foot tall flamingo, and then someone just says, "Oh yeah, that's just Pete. He does this sometimes. Don't worry. BRB, gonna be a cat-sized dragon for a few hours. Might come home a foot taller with mood tattoos." Don't antagonize the Fae. I am the Fae, Susan. Also, consider, people will know it's you, but it doesn't say they'll know what you are. So is Pete a 50-foot flamingo who changes into a man, or the other way around? We don't know. Barbara asked him once, but he just grinned. She said they weren't the teeth of a human or flamingo, and she didn't want to talk about it. Iconic post. Let me be a dragon, I don't care if you know it's me. I've seriously only seen screenshots of this post before though. This is legendary. I am here for your souls. George, did you forget your coffee? Okay, but like, the only difference here is if you don't press it, you can't shapeshift. There's no loss in pressing it. Look, I can't shapeshift now, at least after I'll be able to shapeshift. Hellside Hall of Fame. I would love to shapeshift. Gimme that shit. I want to turn into a Komodo dragon and sit in front of random people's windows and doors and stare. The reason they know it's you is because you keep your signature hairstyle in all forms. Okay, but this would be so good for art. Like, don't know how to draw something in a specific pose or perspective? Turn into it and take a reference picture at the pose or perspective. This would be so useful. People honestly didn't go mad from seeing cosmic horror things in Lovecraft very often. That's a modern thing, and honestly feels like modified Gorgon. Usually it's stress, paranoia, or PTSD from near-death experience. The true terror was not really in seeing something horrifying and alien, but understanding the implications, or not being able to fit it into an existing mental framework. Playing this up could actually create an interesting setup in a narrative, come to think of it. Someone seems fine after dealing with cosmic horrors, so everyone assumes they were fine. Cue some days later, when everything's settled and they're able to process what happened, they find that they begin to have a breakdown as it all begins to fall together. As a simple thought experiment, imagine what encountering something completely recognizable but otherwise impossible would do. Let's say you walked into the next room and standing on a piece of furniture was a little man, literally 18 inches tall at most, in green clothing, clambering and climbing about. I don't mean like what you'd imagine from a special effect or a cartoon, but a real tiny thing that looked, moved, and acted like an impossible miniature human-like creature. The hair wouldn't be shrunk by proportion, there'd be fewer follicles overall, but more densely packed. You can see the faint veins under the skin, the hairs, the pores. You can smell it, it leaves scuffs, it makes sounds appropriate for its size. And when it sees you, it just looks at you, tilts its head, smiles mischievously, and darts under the couch, vanishing. The only thing you find is a gold coin, which is real, solid, and rare, having not seen circulation in centuries. You've had, in this scenario, an encounter with a leprechaun. It's a relatively understandable phenomenon. There's plenty of folklore to prepare you for it. The creature is rationally built, has anatomy that makes sense, is similar to yourself enough to be very familiar. It wasn't even hostile. Is your life ever going to be the same? In addition to questioning whether you actually saw what you saw, you now have to wonder why you were visited. Will it come back? If it does, can it hurt you? If it can you stop it? Where did it come from? Has it always just been there, out of sight? Is it here right now? And those are just surface level questions. Now, fundamentally, the rules of reality have to be reassessed. If such a thing can exist, what does that say about our understanding of biology and evolution? Moreover, there are suddenly theological implications here, none of which are likely to be cleanly or comfortingly answered in their entirety. You've just witnessed some of the single most important encounters in human history and anyone who hears you talk about it is going to think you've lost your mind. The terror and sense of loneliness from that is going to be soul-crushing. Now, replace the leprechaun with something that looks like a deep dream animation brought to life and appears to be both impossible to adequately destroy and possessed of absolute malevolence. Getting attacked by a normal, everyday animal can be traumatizing. Surviving an encounter with a blood-sucking octopus tree that screams in an alien language from multiple slathering maws is certainly beyond the ken of 1930s psychiatric medicine. I feel like this post changed me in a way I'm not ready to confront. Me too, buddy. Me too. Stop using hospitals as horror settings. Fun alternative: cruise ships. Cruise ships exploit workers and can pollute as much as 1 million cars on a daily basis while dumping endless shit into the ocean and endangering all passengers on board because the onboard air quality rivals some of the most polluted cities in the world while being a breeding ground for disease. Cruise ships deserve to have negativity associated with them. Also, all crimes committed aboard a cruise ship is under the jurisdiction of whichever country they're registered to once they're a certain distance away from land, so you have the added bonus of the crimes being very unlikely to be properly investigated, due to usually being physically so very far from the actual police whose jurisdiction they're under. Terrifying! On top of that, cruise ships tend to have their own morgue, as people tend to die on ships all the time. Good for those spooky scenes. Plus, you can just, leave a hospital. Good luck escaping a killer or a monster or a curse or whatever in the middle of the fucking ocean. As an ex-cruise ship employee, let me give you some stuff to work with. Watertight doors. You've got a special training video on interacting with these correctly, because they will literally cut you in half if you try and go through them while they're closing. Freezer vaults for food in the subdecks. You can only get into these with the correct code, and they have very thick walls. Good luck if you get shut in one of these just after the last round of checks, bucko. There are cameras everywhere, except in the crew cabin corridors. Also, there are no windows down there, because unless you're an officer, you live below the waterline. Day and night have no meaning, because everything is in the same slightly unsettling yellow light. Don't piss off the guys who deal with the rubbish. They have machines down there that can crush metal barrels. As well as morgues, cruise ships usually have one basic operating theater, with all the attendant horrifying equipment in it. One cigarette thrown carelessly in the wrong place will start a fire that will gut half the ship. When we're pitching side to side, the anchor swings out and then back in, striking the metal outer shell with a noise that shakes half the ship. People disappear overboard more often than what you'd really want to be a thing. A lot of cruise ships now have theaters on board, usually towards the front, with all the potential for dark corners, creepy costumes, and electrical calamities you could want. And as OP says, you can't really escape a ship in the middle of the ocean, particularly during a storm, as then you can't even evacuate to lifeboats unless the whole ship is going down. On the upside, being on board during a storm means most guests hide in their cabins, and the staff walk around like drunks, which would likely throw off a skilled murderer's plans. Takes notes. You also have the bonus of a corporate overlord who doesn't give a shit about anything but profits and can be reliably counted on to downplay any disaster in an attempt to avoid publicity. If an alien life form had a habit of keeping creatures from other planets as pets, humans would be the cool exotic pet that's actually a nightmare to keep. Consider feeding them. Figuring out the perfect feed pellets with all the nutrition needs covered wouldn't be enough. Some of them don't like those pellets. No, you need variety on the pellets. No, not just any plant from Earth will do. And no, you can't just offer them everything and see what they'll eat. They don't have an instinctive way of telling which plants are edible. And meat? Yeah, they eat meat in nature, but what the fuck do you mean you just threw a random slab of meat in the enclosure? They're not touching that. Feeding them live prey works for enrichment, but occasionally they'll just pack bond with the animal you tossed in there and refuse to eat it. And even if they do kill it, did you offer them any tools to prepare the meat? Oh, fuck's sake, humans need to alter the meat's consistency by manipulating temperature. Their meat digestion process starts outside of the body. It needs to be cooked for it to be edible. No, that's not instinctive either. And if the heating tools are wrong, they won't touch those. It needs to be the exact same specific tools that they've seen being used by the pack mates. You need a human who already knows how to use these specific tools in order for the others to figure out how to use them. No, there's no way of telling which ones they might be familiar with. You have to try. And if they were separated from the brood too early and didn't learn, yeah, you're fucked if your human isn't socialized to get along with other humans. It can't even communicate with them. You're probably not going to successfully manage to habilitate it to other humans. If it isn't pack bonded to you, it's probably severely depressed and can't even verbally express or conceptually fathom why. No wonder it isn't eating the pellets. And we are also able to inflict great damage upon other creatures with unconventional weapons. That chair over there? We'll rip off its legs and make them into pointy sticks and stab you if we don't like you. And yes, creating weapons and using ordinary objects as weapons is instinctual. Also, our teeth might not be sharp, but if we break skin, that is a hospital visit. We do not possess venom, but our mouths are full of bacteria. And this isn't even mentioning blunt force damage that can be inflicted via our extremities. Alien exotic pet collector, shivering in distress. What the fuck do you mean preparing their nutrition with the appropriate tools is not natural and instinctive behavior, but weaponizing the same tools is? This post being made by someone called Homunculus Argument is hilarious.